Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. It's nice to see a positive and happy English face in Murrayfield. That's something you see very often. Good morning. It's great to be back in Edinburgh and back at our party conference. Now, the last time I was in Edinburgh, I was just down the road with Russell and Kemi, sipping common sense conservative whisky cocktails in the shadow of Edinburgh Castle as the sun set on a beautiful winter day. You might actually remember that day. It certainly reminded us all of the importance of making sure you never leave important documents in the printer. Isn't that right, Rob? But more importantly, that was a day that demonstrated to me exactly why I campaigned for Kemi to be the leader of our party. She showed exactly why she is what this country so desperately needs. Strong, decisive leadership. Only the Conservatives can deliver that. Only Kemi can deliver that. And unlike Labour, we have a Scottish leader in Russell Finlay that actually has confidence in our UK party leader to deliver a stronger economy and a stronger country. Now, we are on the cusp of the most important, significant, uncertain election in the history of devolution, one that will determine the course of Scotland's story and the story of Great Britain. This election really does matter. Getting Scottish Conservatives elected really matters, because we are truly the only party that has, does, and always will hold to account the left-wing pressure group cosplaying as a government that is the Scottish National Party. Year after year, on all the issues that matter, it was the Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party that stood up to the very worst of their madcap ideas. The Gender Recognition Act, the Hate Crime Bill, the Named Person Scheme, another referendum on separation, every madcap scheme the Nats cooked up, we, the Scottish Conservatives, under Russell Finlay, Douglas Frost, Jackson Carlo and Ruth Davidson, stood up for common sense Scotland, for common sense Scots within a stronger, united kingdom. Can any other party in Holyrood say they have? Let's just look at who else there is. Scottish Labour, Anis Sarwar, the man who would be king. Best mates with Peter Mandelson until he wasn't. Best mates with Keir Starmer until he wasn't. Asking people to have confidence in his judgment to be First Minister when his own MPs don't have confidence in his judgment on the Prime Minister. Opposing the SNP, apart from when they voted with them, on every single issue of significance. The man who now says he'll boot men out of women's prisons, having voted to put them in there in the first place. The man who declared he wouldn't oppose the SNP's latest budget before he even knew what was in it. Rolling over time and time and time again. John Swinney's puppet, weak, weak, weak. But not only weak, dangerous. Look at what Labour have done since the general election in the UK. The callous family farms tax. Ripping away the winter fuel payment from pensioners. Hiking up taxes on businesses big and small to pay for an ever-increasing welfare bill. Destroying our oil and gas industry, undermining our energy security, our economy, and leading to thousands of high-skilled people losing their jobs. Inept at opposition, destructive in government, the Labour Party cannot be allowed to gain any more seats in that Scottish Parliament. So much for Anis Sarwar. The Lib Dems, Alex Cole-Hamilton, already measuring the curtains in the Deputy First Minister's office, making sure there are enough mirrors in Butte House. Oh, he wants it so bad, doesn't he? Look, we know they'd prop up an SNP administration, despite all their failures. They might say they won't, but then again, when did saying something and doing something entirely different matter to Liberal Democrats? Ask what they stand for, and you'll get a different answer depending on where you are. They'll pretend to support Scotland's oil and gas workers in the northeast. But their actual party policy is to ban new licences, cancel existing ones, and backdate a windfall tax to 2021 at a higher rate. Then they say they will oppose destructive energy infrastructure, scarring rural landscapes. But in Holyrood, they actually vote to make it easier to build them. And frankly, they're just not very good, are they? Remember last year when Alex Cole-Hamilton announced they would support the SNP's budget on the promise that no more taxpayers' money would be spent campaigning for independence? Well, how's that going? So it can't be the Lib Dems. It cannot please be Alex Cole-Hamilton. The Green Party, God, please, never again. So who else have we got? Who else have we got? Yes, Reform. The Lord offered of Garvel. Sorry, plain old Malcolm from Greenock. The man who leads a party that wants to scrap the two-child cap one week and keep it the next. Who says that keeping it will pay for cheaper beer one week, only to say that next week that keeping it is necessary because of the state of the public finances. I mean, for goodness sake. Who wants to cut Scotland's taxes by billions? Who says we're going to cut spending in Scotland? Great! But he can't tell what or where, other than he won't touch the ballooning welfare bill. I wonder why. This is a man who talks the talk of uniting the right, but is in a party that has, as one of its main aims, the destruction of the Conservative and Unionist Party. Lord Alford, let me tell you, the oldest and most successful political party in the world is going nowhere. Lord Alford, the man who leads a party that masquerades as unionists, but is happy to stand independent supporting candidates, who supports another independence referendum in just 10 short years, who claims his party is welcome to rational nationalists. Sorry? There's no such thing as a rational nationalist. We, the party that fought and won the referendum in 2014 and has fought every single day since, know that. We in this room know that. Reform isn't Conservative. They aren't unionist. They are SNP enablers. And on the 6th of May, there is only one person who will thank you for voting for Reform, and that is John Swinney. Because across Scotland, a vote for Reform is only going to let failing SNP MSPs sneak back into Holyrood, and we need to end that. Comments right now in the United Kingdom, we have a Labour government that is more focused on keeping itself on life support than running the country. Divided, distracted, and dragging this country down. We have Reform, more interested in fueling more psychodrama than holding them to account. And in Scotland, we have an SNP who have long run out of ideas, continuing to get away with running Scotland into the ground. The SNP talk a big game on freedom. Really, they know nothing of freedom. More control over what you say, what you do, what you think, how much of your money you can keep. That's all they know, and they must be stopped. It was Ronald Reagan that had it right when he said, "I believe the highest aspiration of man should be individual freedom and the development of the individual." That is the freedom we Conservatives believe in. Freedom to grow, freedom to aspire, freedom to build a better life for your children. That is our dream. Those are our values. And we are unique in Scottish politics because it's only us who actually believes this. And with bold, aspirational, Conservative policies, we can get Scotland working again. Russell Finlay has been clear from day one what our party stands for under his leadership. It isn't rocket science or ideological chicanery. It's simple common sense. Because it's common sense that hard-fought women's rights should be protected. It's common sense to help people buy their own home by scrapping Scotland's stamp duty. It's common sense to scrap the EPL and get Scotland drilling again. It's common sense to back our pubs, bars, restaurants by easing the tax burden, or by getting people into work by getting the welfare bill under control and cutting people's taxes. These are real Conservative policies backed by solid Conservative principles made by proper Conservatives. They will make a difference, and they are cutting through. You might not always agree with us, but you better be damn sure you know what this Conservative Party stands for. Optimism, aspiration, a better future, more of your own money in your pocket, and a stronger, united kingdom. And with Russell's leadership, joined by Miles, Alexander, Jackson, Finlay, Sharon, Tim, Murdo, Megan, Morris, Pam, Sanders, Jamie, Rachel, Craig, Liam, Stephen, Douglas, Ross, Edward, Oliver, Douglas, Liz, Alexander, Sue, Annie, Tess, and Brian. That is what we are fighting for. And it is by re-electing them and our fantastic candidates across this country that will be delivered. Imagine a Scottish Parliament that is laser-focused on the issues it is elected to deal with, not acting like a third-rate student debating chamber, grandstanding on foreign affairs or whatever woke issues agitating Patrick Harvey that afternoon. With Scottish Conservative MSPs, you will get MSPs that fight to deliver that, to refocus the priorities of Holyrood on what actually matters. That's why we have taken the steps to build a credible policy offering to the people of Scotland. Policies that tackle the big challenges we face, like on energy, bringing down your bills by unleashing huge potential of new nuclear technologies, ditching net zero, and giving our North Sea industry the support it needs. All this and more will help cut costs for businesses and families across Scotland. But it isn't just people's bills that are eating away at their bank accounts. The tax burden has been squeezing Scots for years now, and families and businesses simply cannot take any more. Why? Because the welfare bill in Scotland is spiralling out of control, and no other party is willing to be honest with the country. They are not telling the truth. Only the Scottish Conservatives are being honest and frank with Scotland. So, we will cut taxes because it isn't fair that Scots pay more tax than anywhere else in the UK. We'll cut the welfare bill by ensuring that only those that need get. We'll introduce a 2-child cap on the Scottish child payment. We'll work with businesses to grow the economy in Scotland. This party, our party, has taken the time to reflect, renew, think deeply, and formulate robust and meaningful policies. That is what we are doing in Scotland and across the UK. And people can see that. When I was with Kemi and Russell that day just in Edinburgh, just outside the bar, you could see the bank of journalists and cameras waiting for her to appear. But sitting in the bar were 2 couples very much enjoying their afternoon. One of them asked if that was definitely Kemi. Another said that Russell's joke at FMQs that day was one of the funniest he'd ever heard. At that stage, I knew he wasn't on his first dram. But seriously, once confirmed that it was Kemi, they made it clear to me just how impressed they were by her and by what Russell and his team were doing in Holyrood. We make no apologies for not anymore being all things to all people. We aren't. We're Conservatives, and we should never apologise for that. But for the first time in far too long, people now know what we are for. They know who we are for. And we are for the hard-working, aspirational Scot who's proud of his family, his community, and his country, and just wants to see it do better. Who worries for his family's future. Who looks around his town and village as high streets empty and pubs close. Who sees his country, our great country, belittled and driven down by a Labour government in London and an SNP government in Edinburgh who seek to divide, not unite. Who don't want Great Britain to succeed. We are for the man and woman who make this country great. For those who feel surely, eventually, that common sense must prevail. Only the Scottish Conservatives can fight for them. Only the Scottish Conservatives will fight for them. Margaret Thatcher once said at this very conference, Tory values are in tune with everything that is finest in the Scottish character and with the proudest moments in Scottish history. Scottish values are Tory values and vice versa. It was as true then as it is now. So let us go out and fight. Let us go and fight for Scotland. Thank you, conference.